have the prayer and the pledge led by Mayor Pro Tem Dandolph.
Father, Son, Holy Spirit. Lord, we are meeting today to conduct matters of business. Guide our hearts and our minds into the spirit of fairness, right thought, and speech. Impart your supreme wisdom in our activities so our affairs can be successful. Thank you for being our source of guidance today. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Mayor Pro Tem Dan Doyle.
Here.
Councilmember Natalie Lopez.
Present.
Councilmember Marlon Lewis.
Here.
Councilmember David Broussard.
Here.
Councilmember Deidre Ledbetter.
Here.
Councilmember Sherry Guidry.
Present.
Councilmember Dustin Swear.
Here. Thank you. Item 1, public comment. We have no public comment tonight, so we'll move on to item 2, Madam Clerk.
Acceptance of the minutes of the August 21st, 2018 meeting as published on August 30th, 2018.
Do I have a motion? Motion
Second.
by Councilman Lewis and a second by Councilwoman Ledbetter. Do we have any discussion? No discussion? Please vote your machines. Item 3, persons to address the council. We have none. We'll move to item 4, Madam Clerk.
Proclamation on Suicide Awareness Month being received by Cynthia Elmer.
Good evening. I'll go ahead and read the proclamation.
Thank you.
Whereas national suicide is one of the most disruptive and tragic events a family and a community can experience. Whereas in the United States, a person dies by suicide every 11.69 minutes, claiming more than 44,965 lives each year. It is estimated that an attempt is made every minute, with close to 1 million people attempting suicide annually. One person dies by suicide approximately every 12 hours in Louisiana. Whereas suicide is the 4th leading cause of death in the United States among adults ages 18 to 65, the 3rd leading cause of death among teens and young adults, the 11th leading cause of death in the United States, and individuals aged 65 and older account for 16% of all suicide deaths. Whereas in Louisiana, suicide is the 2nd leading cause of death for ages 10 through 14, 3rd leading cause of deaths for ages 15 to 34, 4th leading cause of deaths for ages 35 to 44, 6th leading cause of death for ages 45 to 54, 10th leading cause of death for ages 55 to 64, and the 16th leading cause of death for 65 and older. Whereas suicide is the 11th leading cause of death in Louisiana, and more Louisiana residents die by suicide than by homicide on average every year. Whereas 50% of those who die by suicide were afflicted with major depression, and the suicide rate of people with major depression is 8 times that of the general population. Whereas suicide does not discriminate by gender, economic status, race, or ethnicity, and the highest risk of suicide is among the survivors of those who died by suicide or those who have attempted suicide. Whereas suicide prevention has been declared a national priority by the President and Congress, whereas public awareness of this terrifying problem is the key to preventing further suffering and loss of life and risk of human self-destruction, and can be reduced through awareness, education, and treatment. I, therefore, Mayor referred to the court by virtue of the authority vested in me by the laws of the City of New Iberia, do hereby proclaim the month of September 2018 as Suicide Awareness Month in the City of New Iberia, and do urge all citizens to work to prevent suicide and raise awareness and tolerance around all people affected by this tragic tragedy by observing this month with appropriate ceremonies, activities, and community walks. Yes, ma'am. Got one that I signed that I'll give to y'all, and then you're welcome to make some remarks. And thank you for all you do.
Thank you. I just want to invite y'all to the Acadiana Out of the Darkness Walk, November the 10th at the Youngsville Sports Complex. This is where we raise our money to do the programs that we do for free. Yes. And also the new Iberia Mental Health Initiative we formed about 3 years ago. It's to help people in Iberia Parish. So I encourage you to contact any of us, and we would be glad to help you. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Michelle, you
We have a
said
question.
November the 10th at Youngsville,
Sports complex.
the sports complex.
I have
And
the flyers.
Okay, and I have one more
Okay.
question. I know like every other issue that strickens our communities, those that celebrate or set aside a month, they usually have a color. Is there a color for suicide that you know of for Suicide Awareness Month?
Teal and blue.
Teal and blue? Okay.
And what time?
It's like a lot.
The walk will be starting at 9, but you can register at afsp.org, Acadiana, or if you want to look at all the programs that we offer, afsp.org/Louisiana and Acadiana, whatever, you'll find us. We're here to help. We do have programs that we offer all over the state.
You get some flyers with you.
Yes.
Thank you. Any further questions? All right, we're moving on to item 5.
Public hearings. A, public hearing on the introduction of ordinance for budget amendment number 2017-2018-12 to amend budget for ONTAP Foundation Grant, New Iberia National Register of History Tour, and City Slip Project with Wildlife and Fisheries for Archaeological Study.
I need a motion to open the public hearing.
Motion to open the public hearing.
Motion by Councilwoman Guidry. I need a second.
Second.
Second by Councilwoman Ledbetter. Do we have any public comment? Hearing none, I need a motion to close the public hearing.
Motion to close the public hearing.
Councilwoman Guidry, Councilwoman Ledbetter. Thank y'all. Madam Clerk, 5B.
Public hearing on the introduction of an ordinance to ratify and confirm the donation by Landry Watkins Repask and Bro to the city of New Iberia of that property identified as Plat 2 shown on the plat showing property belonging to Aurora Masonic Lodge, number 193 FNAM 1, and Aurora Lodge 2 located in section 42, township 12 south, range 6 east, frontage 93.08 feet on East Main Street, on terms set forth in that act filed at Conveyance Book 1632 at page 186 under file number 2017-8159 and previously the subject of resolution 17-47.
I need a motion to open our public hearing.
Motion to open the public hearing.
Motion by Councilwoman Guidry and a second by Councilman Lewis. Any public comment on this item? Hearing and seeing none, I need a motion to close the public hearing.
Motion.
Motion to close by Councilman Broussard. I need a second.
Second.
Councilman Lewis. Thank y'all. Madam Clerk, 5C.
Public hearing on the introduction of an ordinance to authorize the mayor to negotiate and execute servitude agreements with Landry Watkins Repask and Bro and/or Landry Watkins and Bonan in connection with improvements to be constructed under the Wildlife and Fisheries Big P Tier 1 Grant City Slips Project and in connection with other improvements to be constructed in the area of the present boardwalk along Bayou Teche. The agreements to contain such terms as the mayor in his discretion deems appropriate.
Motion to open. Mayor Pro Tem Dahl. Do I have a second?
Motion.
Councilman Broussard. Is there any public comment on this item? Seeing none, I need a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Mayor Pro Tem Dahl, and a second by Councilwoman Ledbetter. Thank y'all. Now we go to 5D.
Public hearing on the introduction of an ordinance to authorize the city of New Iberia to donate 2 police vehicles which are no longer needed for public purposes to the city of St. Martinville Police Department, which were formerly acquired by donation from the Lafayette Parish Police Department and are no longer needed for public purposes, which units are described below.
Hit me. No. Motion to open the public hearing.
Motion to open the public hearing.
Councilwoman
second.
Guidry. Second, Councilwoman Ledbetter. Anyone here to discuss this item? Hearing none, I need a motion to close the public hearing.
Motion.
Ooh, double motion. Motion by Councilman Swear and seconded by Councilman Lewis. Thank y'all. Now we move on to ordinances. Madam Clerk?
Approval of ordinance for budget amendment number 2017-2018-12, amending the ordinance levying certain taxes, appropriating the funds necessary to defray the expenses and liabilities of the city of New Iberia for the year 2017-2018, to amend the budget for On-Tap Foundation Grant, New Iberia National Register of History Tour, and City Slip Project with Wildlife and Fisheries for archaeological study.
Do I have a motion? Motion by Councilwoman Lopez. Do I have a second?
Second.
Councilman Broussard. Do we have any discussion on this item? Hearing none, please vote your machines. Thank y'all. 5B.
Approval of an ordinance ratifying and confirming the donation by Landry Watkins Repasque and Bro to the city of New Iberia of that property identified as Plat 2, shown on that plat showing property belonging to Aurora Masonic Lodge, number 193, F and AM 1, and Aurora Lodge 2, located in Section 42, Township 12 South, Range 6 East, fronting 93.08 feet on East Main Street on terms set forth in that act filed at Conveyance Book 1632 at page 186 under file number 2017-8159, previously the subject of resolution number 1747.
Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Motion by Councilwoman Guidry. Do I have a second? Second by Councilman Lewis. Do we have any discussion on this item? Seeing none, please vote your machines. Thank you. 5C.
Approval of an ordinance authorizing the mayor to negotiate and execute servitude agreements with Landry Watkins Repasque and Bro and/or Landry Watkins and Bonet in connection with improvements to be constructed under the Wildlife and Fisheries Big P Tier 1 Grant City Slips Project, and in connection with other improvements to be constructed in the area of the present boardwalk along Bayou Teche. Their agreements to contain such terms as the mayor in his discretion deems appropriate.
Do I have a motion? Mayor Pro Tem.
Second.
Second, Councilwoman Ledbetter. Any discussion on this item? Seeing none, please vote your machines. Thank y'all. 5D.
Approval of an ordinance authorizing the city of New Iberia to donate 2 police vehicles to the city of St. Martinville Police Department, which were formerly acquired by donation from the Lafayette Parish Police Department and are no longer needed for public purposes. The units are described as follows: a 2007 Ford Crown Victoria bearing vehicle identification number 2FAFP71W97X151986, and a 2009 Ford Crown Victoria bearing vehicle identification number 2FAHP71V09X144749.
Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Motion by Councilman Lewis and a second by Councilman Swear. Do we have any discussion on this item? Seeing none, please vote your machines. Thank y'all. Madam Clerk, that was a lot of reading. Thank you. Now we go to resolutions.
Resolution indicating the intention of the city of New Iberia to approve the 2-year appointment of Kevin Zarang, city treasurer, as a director to the board of the Louisiana Local Government Environmental Facilities and Community Development Authority.
Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Motion by Councilwoman Guidry. Do I have a second? Councilwoman Ledbetter. Do we have any discussion on this? Yes, ma'am.
I got myself slightly acquainted with the Title 33 of Louisiana Revised Statutes of 1950, aka Louisiana Local Government Environmental Facilities and Community Development Authority. I just have a couple of questions, Mayor.
Okay,
Okay, all right. This particular board, how often does this board meet?
I think it's once a year.
It's once a year? It's a volunteer thing?
It's a volunteer thing. They asked for someone from the city to represent. In the past, the mayor had done it. It does reference our bonding ability, so I thought we should put the finance guy. So we sent in Kevin because he knows about finance.
Okay, is there other positions on this particular board?
No, we just
It's
put
just
one
all-
person on, so
All financial,
all financial, and it's only in reference to bonds.
okay. And,
So I thought he was the perfect choice.
I think so too. Thank you.
Okay, any further questions? Please vote your machines. Kevin, you get to go to a meeting. Item 6B.
Item 6B will be a resolution of intent which will be brought up at the special meeting after this council meeting.
Yeah, and just to explain, we're going to have a meeting after this meeting on the TIF. There are two items, 6B and another one that is 7A. Both of those will be addressed because our bonding attorney, Jason Akers, said we have to do a separate meeting on TIF issues. So we'll do that in a minute, and we will move to 6C.
Resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into and execute an intergovernmental participation agreement for lease of space to house juveniles at the Terrebonne Parish Juvenile Justice Complex.
Do I have a motion? Motion by Councilwoman Lopez and a second, I think, Councilwoman Ledbetter. Do we have any discussion on this item?
I do, man.
Okay, we got hands up. Yes, yes,
Oh,
Dan.
I'm sorry. Well, right now, we are bringing the juveniles to Lafayette, is that
We-
correct? Can you explain?
We have brought juveniles to Lafayette, and we have already brought juveniles to this facility in Terrebonne. We are now doing an agreement. We don't have a lot of choices. One of the biggest issues we face is that there aren't many of these juvenile facilities across the state. There's one that's closer, but it's all boarded up and has never been opened. So we have to look for where we can send these juveniles. It is very expensive. We pay $256 a day. That's kind of non-negotiable. So we end up right now that sometimes they get to go to Lafayette. In many instances, we've already sent 2 or 3 juveniles, and they've had to go to Terrebonne.
And the price is the same no matter where we bring
No
them?
matter where we bring them, it is a very expensive proposition.
And the reason we're going a little farther because they don't have the room for us in Lafayette?
Correct. If they do, we've even had instances where the juvenile started out in Terrebonne and then ended up being moved to Lafayette. We, of course, would try to keep them as closely as we can, and this is not something that occurs often. One, because of the price. We don't have the budget to spend $256,000 a day on too many juveniles. On the flip side, you've got to send a message that, that type of behavior is not going to be tolerated, and so that's why we're, doing what we're doing.
Thank you.
Sure. Councilwoman Guidry.
I think,
was-
Ms. Lopez might have
Oh,
been
okay.
second.
I don't have
Councilwoman.
a question, I just have a statement that
Okay.
I did. I called one of the district court judges who handles the juvenile just to make sure that that's the rate that the parish is paying. And he said the 16th JDC, that's who they use, that's the rate.
We had checked as well, but
Yeah.
I'm glad you checked. You might find me something
well,
cheaper.
and I mean, for everybody else to know as well,
Yeah,
just that's what it is, that's what the parish is paying. That's what the juvenile judge said. I mean, that's kind of what our only option is at this point.
Yes, ma'am. Okay, who was next? Yes,
I think I was, sir.
that's fine.
I just wanted to say, I also called around as well, Lafayette facility as well, making sure they wasn't jipping us at $256 per juvenile detainee space lease per day. I mean, that's a lot of money when you add that up. I mean, that's almost somebody's mortgage. So, I was making sure that was the right price for our mayor and his council. And on top of that, my other comment is not a question, but I mean, $256. I mean, at that rate, it's like if we just pay them to just stay off drugs, stop robbing the stores or whatever, then we could just pay them, and it'd probably be cheaper than $256 per detainee space lease per day. The other thing is, I just had a couple of questions real quick. We're responsible for the detainees, and then they're gonna go to court. Okay, so they need to be transferred back and forth from New Iberia to Terrebonne Parish. So.
Which our police
so-
department
and
does.
That's correct. So which budget is all of this stuff is coming out of?
This is all in the police budget.
Police
We have
budget.
an incarceration budget. We have 2 trustees on the payroll. We have a gas and fuel allowance. That's a total. We have, I'm sure we have a note somewhere on the van. So all through the bond. So all of those things are absorbed through the police department.
And so it's coming out of their budget, not
Yes,
our
ma'am. Yes,
fund
out of the
and all
police
that other
department.
stuff. Okay.
And, as you know, we're 2 months old. We are trying to gauge that. Some of this, I know that we're having very good success, and we are, touching a lot of people's lives. So we are trying to figure, as we're in budget time now, just so we should budget for all that touching. So as we go through it, I'm sure that our budgets will evolve, but we are, it's somewhat of a learning curve. We use the examples of other departments, but as we all know, New Iberia is a very unique community, so we're just going to have to kind of stay on top of it and really watch to see, where those numbers go. But that's where it's coming from.
Okay, that's what I need to know. Thank you, sir.
Anytime. Councilman Swear.
I think we real $256 a day and all the factors that go into the cost. You pretty much, just the comments were made that the price $256, all the factors that go into get that number. But the question I have is a couple of questions. Have we been in any discussion, like a tri-parish, about maybe forming a juvenile detention center?
I would love to see that. Paul Landry and I had a discussion about that, the parish councilman, about possibly trying to push that forward, that, all the parishes, the 3 parishes in the JDC would get together and try to do that. I mean, I'm all for it, and especially if it would be less than $256 a day.
Right.
That'd be great, and then these juveniles would actually be housed closer to home, and, but we haven't had any formal discussions
No,
about
that's
it.
just a question I have.
But if we could, I'm all in.
And can you tell us how many juveniles so far have we put through?
2.
2?
2.
All
Two.
right, thank you.
Sure. Yes, sir.
What I was going to ask is similar to Dustin's question. I'm sorry, Dustin. How long normally do we? I guess we have 2 in custody right now. How long have they been there, and how long do they stay there?
That's up to the judge. So what happens is, we send them, we talk to the judge, we talk to our city prosecutor, Ann Stevens, because you hate to say that you're making a decision over money, but money touches every one of our decisions. So I'll give you one case in point, not naming any names. Juvenile commits a crime, has committed more than one crime, get a call from the city prosecutor. We think this is one that we need to send. He has no place to go. There's not going to be any kind of supervision if we just let him go. Family situation is not good for that, so we think we need to send it. Being the guy who's in charge of the money, who's trying to make a statement in our community and clean our community up and trying to wear all the hats I have to wear, then it becomes a financial decision, and so then we're like, all right, we make an example out of this kid. He goes, he might go for a week, and then he goes before the judge. Then the judge will decide if he's going to continue to stay in that facility, if he might get moved to the Lafayette facility, if he might go home with an ankle bracelet, and be monitored. So that ends up being up to the judge and is out of my control, or our control. You had one case where one of the kids was switched from Terrebonne to Lafayette, and then Lafayette called and said, we need the bed back. He's got to go. So even if we would have budgeted to continue paying the $256 a day, we're not a place to put him. So then he ended up, at home under house arrest, basically. So it's not totally up to us for how long this is going to happen.
Right.
We have some input at the very beginning of, can we do this? I mean, if I tell him I'm broke and we don't have the money to do it or something like that, we wouldn't be doing it. But it's you got to make a statement and you got to make an example, unfortunately, and be stern, or we're not going to be as effective as we could. We're just trying to curb that activity. All we want to do is make these people productive citizens and grow up to stop this, and this is a deterrent. So we think that that hasn't been done in our area in a while. So I think sending them sends a strong message. Is this where you want to end up?
Now, if a kid is, because I don't know how much the juvenile system has changed, but I know when I was coming up, I knew people that went to LTI and the different facilities around the state, and I don't think it's the way it used to be. I don't hear about it like I used to hear about it years ago. So my question is, say they go to the detention that we send them to, or not we, but the police department, and the police department picks them up, judge sentences them to maybe 10 days in Lafayette or Terrebonne, if the charge or the crime that they commit lasts, and the judge sentences them to 6 months, a year, do we continue paying that, or does the state take?
At some point, when
pick
they
up that?
accept it as a state crime, then the state picks up the bill. So
Okay.
it is really, really incumbent upon us, and our chief does a very good job of that, of monitoring the situation to see that once the state accepts those charges, it's off our nickel, right?
And
Once they're adjudicated.
They're adjudicated,
Once they're adjudicated.
Convicted.
convicted,
And-
once they're convicted.
that's what I was going.
So if they're 6 months and they're convicted, then it's off our nickel, and it's on the state.
Okay, so at the most they can stay on our dime or our dollar.
Until they're convicted.
It could be up to 6 months.
Yep. More than likely, it depends on the severity of the crime, if they're held a 6-month period straight. Usually there's a hearing taking place long before that where some decisions be made on acceptance of charges and which route the courts are gonna go. So it's a system thing, but more than likely, we won't have a juvenile sitting for 6 months on our dime.
Right. Yeah, we need to look at some diversion programs to get these kids out of the system and into back into school, what have you, onto some type of program where number one they get taught a lesson, but they're diverted into a life away from crime, and it's not costing us any money, and that's the
Yeah,
challenge.
You get a youth challenge program. You
Yeah.
have several things in place, and also, I think you're building the state building $12 million facility right now that's geared towards not being a facility of jail kind of situation. So they're currently constructing a $12 million facility.
And Councilwoman Guidry, I concur with you, and I'm gonna say it in this way. You know, there's a lot of mentoring programs around our community that men and women who don't have nothing to do with their spare time can get involved with, and maybe we can, as a community, can deter some of this crime, save a child, and save the city some money.
I'm all for that. You know, my dad just kept threatening to send me to reform school, so I just,
Yeah.
it worked, but
My mom threatened me with
didn't
that
cost
too. Never been.
$256. Yes, Dad.
No, Sharon, go ahead.
I just
Okay.
wanted to, just again, the $256, basic coverage of, facility, 24-hour monitoring, basic medical needs, teachers, those type of things, meals. So that's basically, I believe, what we're paying for in this space, is that correct?
Yes.
And I'd like to see also too, instead of this short-term way that we have now, I'd like to also see maybe a long-term solution in the future, or, you know, maybe instead of pumping $256 per person, maybe we can do that into programs. So that's later on, but right now we need some place to put them. NIPD is doing a great job. Thank you.
Thank you. Dan?
Mary, you mentioned that sometime they go home and house arrest, and then with the bracelet and with the monitoring. Who pays for that?
That's a sentencing part, that would be done, that would be paid for by the state.
The state does, yeah, I know we
But
do.
before they convicted, he said sometime they can go home on house
Oh, pretrial.
Pre-trial.
arrest. And I thought maybe the parents of the child has to pay for that.
Not until adjudicated with some kind of sentencing be given out, and you're.
But we
right.
haven't got a bill for any of that yet.
The pretrial stuff on the monitoring and that kind of stuff would be, more than likely, depends on the charges, could be parish.
Oh,
Yeah, it's not us.
okay. I was just wondering when you
Yeah.
said
No, that's
sometime.
fine. It's-
I know there's a cost involved.
No, there's always a cost, but
Yeah.
those aren't ours.
One more.
Yes.
Mayor. After the, let's say 6 months, or let's say they are under our dime for that amount of time, but, after their due process, and stuff, can't we transfer them over to the state facility over in Bunkie, Louisiana, where they actually hold everybody?
Well, once they're charged, they're no longer in our possession,
Right,
and
after
it's
due
not up to us.
process. And
Right.
so, can they be sent
They
there?
are sent somewhere
Okay,
else.
So
Yes.
that's where they would be, okay.
I don't know where. I can't tell you where, but I know they're off our dime
Louisiana.
and
Yeah, okay.
in the state's hands.
Okay.
Yes, our city attorney's been waiting patiently.
Yeah, just some minor things. We'll need to fill in the, it's paragraph 3.1, the number of people, because I don't know how many we have, but it says up to blank. I don't know what number we choose, but I guess we'll leave that up to the mayor to fill it in. And the beginning date
Okay.
also.
Okay.
Paragraph 3.2 says it's temporary housing of juvenile detainees awaiting trial or other disposition, runaways, juveniles awaiting transfer. But this is pretrial stuff, so it's just temporary, as few as we can get away with, but we need to have somewhere for for these people to go. This is a real short-term agreement, so we can terminate it pretty quickly. So if we find some better plan, we can move on
Correct.
to the better plan.
Correct. That's why we talked about making it short-term, that if something popped up that was less expensive or local or whatever, some program other than this, we could have the option to.
That's it.
Good.
One more quick question.
Yeah, sure.
How much does it cost for us to house an adult again?
$30 a day.
$30.
$30 a day. Anything further? Oh, if we're done, I'll ask you to vote your machines.
And we're voting for this contract to be.
Yes, for me to be able to sign this,
executed as of
give me
today.
the authority to sign this contract.
Okay. I need to vote again.
Okay, that's fine. Thank y'all, good discussion. Now we go to 6D.
Resolution awarding bid to Gulf Coast Underground LLC for the LCDBG fiscal year 2017 Sewing System Improvements 1 Hopkins Street Area Project, and authorizing the mayor to enter into and sign a contract with Gulf Coast Underground for said project.
Do I have a motion? Motion by Councilwoman Lewis. Councilman Lewis. Sorry. Do I have a second? Second by Councilman Broussard. Whew. Do we have any discussion on this item?
I have a couple questions for Vince.
All right, Vince, come on up. Those ladies are just always on it, man. Yeah.
Since Vince came, we gotta ask him something.
That's good. That's good.
Hey Vince, I see that the low bidder was Gulf Coast Underground, and they from like Alabama. And I never seen their name come across us too much. That the second bidder was E.B. Fetch and Sons.
Correct.
Was the second lowest bidder, highest bidder. I mean, you have any dealings with the people from Alabama?
Yeah, we've contracted with them on a manhole rehab project. They rehabbed about 400 plus manholes for us in the past. We were real happy with their performance. They're branching out into doing additional rehabilitation. Our consultants on this deal is Domingue Zabo and Associates, and there are certain standards and experiences that they have to show and their subs have to show to be able to perform the services that they're going to provide. So.
And it did come in under what they projected.
Absolutely.
And
absolutely.
But they had a deduction, alternate one as $1.
Correct. There
What
was
is that?
that was
$1 a
typo.
number.
There was a
You sure
typo.
they didn't mean 1,000 or 10,000?
No, I'll explain it to you briefly. That was a typo in that document. There was no alternate. Evidently, they realized that and put $1.
Okay.
So it really materially doesn't affect their
Which
bid.
looked strange.
It was.
The low bid put $0.
I seen that too.
But zero's a number.
Zero's the number, correct. So it
Okay.
was just more of a typo on that project.
I was just because Alabama's kind of far. But
Yeah,
I'm sure
they-
after they do the work, they don't have to come back. So
Yeah, I mean,
I doubt it.
based on the work that they've done, which has been limited, we were
Okay.
real happy with their performance.
Okay.
If it's any indicator of what they
Good.
plan
I
to do.
was just only question. Thank you.
Okay.
Any further questions? I'll ask you to please vote your machines. Thank y'all. Okay, the next item, 6E, has been pulled because we didn't get it from the state. Oh, yes, sir. Sorry.
I just wanted the record to reflect that I am not Councilwoman Lewis.
No, but thank you very much. That's funny. So noted. Item 6E, we are pulling from the agenda because we didn't get the paperwork in from the state yet.
Okay.
So we're waiting to get the paperwork so that we can vote on it. So, Madam Clerk, 6F.
Resolution awarding quote to Royal Security Solutions, Inc. in the amount of $8,945 for upgrades to the CCTV system at Sucrose Drive Wastewater Treatment Plant, Teat Bayou Wastewater Treatment Plant, and Arminco Drainage Pump Station.
Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Councilman Swear? Do I have a second? Councilman Broussard? Do we have any discussion?
Yep.
Okay, great. You want to
Vince.
get Vince back
I'm
up
gonna
here?
wear him out. Why not?
Hey,
I like bids. I like to talk about bids.
that's good. Bids are good. That's how we
Hey,
save money.
I saw on your note that you said you had 125,000 budgeted with two projects. One was for 49,000, one was 58,000.
But we are accepting an $8,000 project. Is that part of those two projects?
I had 125,000 budgeted for two projects.
Okay.
Those two projects now have come in totaling 58,000. So basically, I've got half the money that I budgeted left on the table, which I won't plan on spending at this time and moment. But, so they came in well under budget is what that was trying to make that point.
Oh, but the $8,000 bid that we're accepting tonight, is it for camera or for cameras of the building or camera for the sewer? Or?
It is. It's cameras at the Armenco pump station. Those signals are brought into the Sucrose Drive plant. There's cameras at the T-Bayou plant. Those signals are brought into the Sucrose Drive plant. And the Sucrose Drive plant also has cameras inside of it. So what's happened over this 12-year period is we've been piecemealing this CCTV system because different signals have been coming in, and we've got all these PCs handling all these signals. We're trying to consolidate that now into a compact package, basically.
Because these cameras we're talking about are external, not cameras going through the sewer lines.
No, yeah,
Right.
it's video, security
Okay,
cameras.
But since you might have some money left over in there, I know that issue of those cameras in the sewer lines are always having trouble. or
Absolutely.
something. Maybe.
Excuse me, Mr. Mayor.
I saw these cameras and I kind of like them. You know how much money they save us with the manpower? Huh?
No, you're right. I mean,
That's what you told me to say, huh? Yeah. No, I'm just joking. I'm just joking. But I was just wondering what cameras we were talking about.
no, those cameras are serving their purpose
Yeah.
now. Our inline cameras.
They
You know,
all-
we can make those last a little longer, but
Okay.
I appreciate the thought.
Good. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
We have any? Yes. Councilman.
Will the cameras at Sucrose be recording? Remember we
They
were
will
talking about
now.
a while back?
They will now,
They're
yes,
gonna be
ma'am.
recording,
Absolutely.
and you'll have jump back
They're
up?
gonna be recording Armenco's activities, the activities at T-Bayou, everything's gonna be recorded. 30 days. We have 30 days worth of recording. So if there's an
And
incident,
we couldn't look at the camera footage. I remember. That's a good
to
question.
Yes,
know.
ma'am.
So
Yes,
everyone
ma'am.
in the cameras are gonna be recording
absolutely.
by the pepperplex.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, please vote your machines. Yeah. Yeah. Now we got them on camera. Great. Madam Clerk, let's see, item 7A, well, we're pulling that to go to our next meeting that we'll have after this meeting, so we move on to items for discussion, and we have none tonight. So now we move on to councilman remarks, and I'll start on Dustin's end.
All right, basically I'd like to say tonight, with all the rain coming, and I'm sure we're gonna have rain eventually after that, if anyone has any great drains outside in front of your house or on your property, just make sure they're cleared, to prevent, any flooding and stuff like that, especially with the pine needles, especially in the town and everywhere else. So that's pretty much all I have to say, just be diligent and just keep an eye out, make sure that the drains are cleared. So appreciate that.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
I just got a couple of remarks really quick. On September the 13th, we're having our quarterly neighborhood watch at 315 Week Street, 6 p.m. And the guest speaker is our Representative Terry Landry. We'll be speaking with Mr. Landry on a number of issues, in addition to receiving valuable information on proposed amendments that's coming up on our election ballot in October, November. Also to, let's see what else I had. I got a question, Mayor. With your assistance and your consent, I'd like to respectfully ask Ms. Heather to get a proposal together or a document together by at least October the 31st. I know this is kind of on the spot, for Park and Recreation to provide an estimate on what is the cost needed for the MLK Center in the West End Park building, to bring it up to 21st century with Wi-Fi and the rehabilitation of the building, the tennis courts, the splash pad, and all those things that need to be brought up. Just working with some state representatives, trying to get that sorted out. So if you can help me out with that, I would highly appreciate that. I apologize for putting you on the spot, but that's very important, if you can. Okay. Let's see. I think that's all I have at this time, sir.
All right.
I'll yield back my time.
Councilwoman Ledbetter.
I just want to tell everybody to be safe in this hurricane season, because this is very active. Be prepared, get your kit together, and if you need to leave, please do. And that's all I have.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem?
Yes, Mayor, I'm sorry for the people to the east of us, but I'm glad it didn't come to us. But one thing we need to watch for, we've been having a lot of wind, especially with the weight of the rain on the leaves. We're having broken branches throughout. And if you pick up the branches, especially right now, put them in your yard, not in the street, because it really stops a lot of drainage. And then if it doesn't stop, it brings it down to the end. So for the few days that we got, normally if you put branches in your yard during the summer, it might kill the grass, but right now it's so wet, I don't think it'd kill it. So if you can put them inside your yard and not into the street, especially for this time of the year, it won't cause less flooding. That's it.
Thank you. Mr. B?
Mr. Leroy, the whole permit department handle all the problems we have. Not gonna name one person. Y'all all together. You've helped me on major ones this last week or two. I want to thank y'all. And the rest of your department, Mr.
Yes.
D-Court. But they've really been helpful, and we see it on the street. It's getting cleaner. But grass, man, 3 and 4 foot tall. We're having trouble with a few places. You hear a lot of phone calls like on the grass. But I want to thank them personally for what they do, because it reflects on us. And we appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah, I just want to announce again the town hall meeting October the 8th at 6 o'clock in the Weston Community Center, better known as the MLK Center in District 2. We're going to request a 90-day report from the City Police Department, as well as a recap of some of the things that's been going on in the district and District 2, and some of the challenges we face. And that's going to be October the 8th at 6 o'clock in the West End Park. And it's going to be, again, an introduction of the leadership of our police department, as well as a 90-day report of some of our successes, as well as some of our challenges.
That's it?
That's it.
Thank you. Councilwoman Lopez?
I don't really have, I don't know if, I guess it's an announcement, but I would just like to invite everyone to maybe do some research for the upcoming election day this year in November. We have a amendment number 2 that's going to be on the ballot. I don't know if everyone's keeping up with that or not, but in Louisiana, if you're charged with a felony crime and you brought before a jury, it only takes 10 people to convict you. Majority of other states, it takes 12, a unanimous jury. And for the first time in history, like hundreds of years, there's a big group of people pushing to make Louisiana be a unanimous verdict state for non-capital offenses, basically everything but murder, rape of older person or younger person, but everything else. So I just think that's something, I've talked to a lot of people about it. A lot of people have mixed feelings about how they feel. Would they want all 12 to say guilty to be convicted guilty, or is 10 good enough for them? But I think it's going to be a huge mark in history, regardless of how it goes, but just it's going to be a huge statement of Louisiana and how we feel about that. And I think it affects everyone, because I think anyone and everyone has someone in their family who's been arrested for something at one point or the other. So your opinion on the matter definitely counts. So please educate yourselves. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councilwoman Kidry let me know that she had one more item.
Oh, yeah, I apologize. I just wanted to tell Mr. Leroy that he is doing a wonderful job. I got back in town and the city was just looking so clean. Awesome job. I love it. Congratulations, Mr. Leroy. And the other thing is, I forgot to mention the Brown Sugar Music Festival presented by Envision the Berry, September the 29th, noon to 9 p.m. It's going to be held on Hopkins Street, between Field Street and Robertson Street. There's going to be 2 music stages. We want to invite everyone to come out. If you would like to be a vendor, it's $75. And I think all the permit and everything is worked out with the city, right, Mayor?
Yes.
Okay, want to get the right information. And also too, there's also sponsorship awaiting, starting at $200. Of course, you're going to feel safe there, because I believe 10 officers, is it NIPD, is going to be there to make sure that you're safe. And also to, let's see, it's a great family-oriented avenue, and also another cultural event and fun and live music. So again, go out September the 29th, noon to 9 p.m. and enjoy yourselves. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll entertain nobody leave, including our cameraman, because we have another little quick meeting. But I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Motion and a second. Great. Thank y'all. Next meeting, September 18th. We're done. All right. Now we're going to convene to talk about upcoming TIF district. Yeah, so we will call this meeting to order. This is our meeting for the New Iberia Highway 14 Economic Development District 1 special meeting. So call to order, and we here, and roll call.
Mayor Pro Tem Dan Doyle.
Here.
Councilmember Natalie Lopez. Councilmember Marlon Lewis.
Here.
Councilmember David Broussard.
Here.
Councilmember Deidre Ledbetter.
Here.
Councilmember Sherry Guidry.
Present.
Councilmember Dustin Swear.
Here.
Thank you.
We have no public comment.
Item 1, public comment. Do we have any public comment? No public comment. All right. Madam Clerk, item 2.
Resolution authorizing the publication of a notice of intention to levy taxes within New Iberia Highway 14 Economic Development District Number 1 and providing for other matters in connection therewith.
Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Motion by Councilwoman Guidry. Do I have a second?
Second.
Councilman Swear. Discussion. Do we have any discussion on this side? Okay. Councilman Lopez.
I just had a question.
Yes.
The entire district, is it all in Mr. Broussard, or is it split in between
This
our
is
district?
all in Mr. Broussard. Yeah, this, and what we're talking about right now, we have 2 TIF districts that are now both dormant. What we're doing right now is trying to proceed to enact the one on Highway 14. So that one's all in Mr. Broussard.
Okay, that's question number 1. Question number 2. Have y'all talked to any of the business owners yet about it?
We have
This
not.
go round.
We have not.
'Cause I know in the
They
past,
knew in 2009 the TIF district was enacted. It just wasn't turned on. It was established, but it wasn't turned on. They've known for many years that they were in the TIF district. Remember our process. We talk about it tonight. We vote to proceed. If we vote to proceed, then we have 2 meetings where we'll have public hearings at both meetings, and then at the second meeting we would adopt it. So this would happen in October. This is just the introduction to begin to, the resolution to start talking about it and to set that in motion.
Okay, and then, I'm sure my questions are kind of the same, everybody else.
It's okay.
But, how much money per year are we estimating, and do we have like a 5-year plan or a 3-year plan with regard to what we want to do with it? Because isn't the whole basis for it is to enhance the area infrastructure and things like that? Do we have a plan for the money yet, or are we just gonna try to get the ball? Am I putting the cart before?
No, you're not. I mean, it's good to ask. We're asking what I proposed, and that's why we do this together, because we're a team. I have proposed and said a half cent, okay? So the TIF would be a half cent. When you look at the taxes of what they're bringing in now, which we're about even, okay? This district would bring in probably $350,000. It's not a huge amount of money as the parish fools with their TIF, because it runs down all of 90. They have a very big TIF. This is actually not that large. For the businesses that are there now, it would probably bring in somewhere in the range of $350,000 a year. which is not a huge amount of money, okay? But that's at half a cent. Well, the plan is we have the Civic Center property that we're not going to build a Civic Center. So we have that property that we could sell. There could be some opportunity there for businesses to come because it's green space. We have other areas, as you see, it's got a lot of green area that businesses could come to be attracted here that we could pay for infrastructure. So for a while, you ask about the 3-year plan, the 5-year plan. One, at $350,000 a year, it's going to take a while to build up some money. If we did go down this path and pass it, we would start collecting in January of next year. So it's going to take a while to build up enough. But, when we talk about the sidewalks, Mr. Broussard is always talking about on Highway 14. When we talk about new businesses coming that would need sewer or need other infrastructure, the point is we have blank land here that we can develop, so we will begin to market that area even more aggressively, and this is an incentive. If you look at what the parish did, look at their passenger terminal at the airport, how successful that was. So the plan is to collect the money, to promote the area, and to take advantage when the businesses come, or when we get somebody on the hook who wants to come here, we now have something to provide that infrastructure to get them here. Will it take longer than 5 years? Yeah, it will, because we're only building a little bit of money in at a time.
Yeah. Okay, and then I guess.
But if we don't start, we're missing out.
And I guess my last question would be: is there, and maybe this is for Jeff, is there like a legal definition of exactly how we can spend that money? Like how
It's
money
laid
is
out.
dedicated? Like
Definitely.
what does it say? Like, can we use it to market the land? Do we have to use it for infrastructure only?
Infrastructure.
Can we put it towards the Pepperplex? Like, what are the variables? I'm just throwing things out there.
It
Like, what
could-
are the variables with that money that we
I'm gonna let
in the
Jeff-
legal?
Yeah, I'm gonna
realm
let
of
Jeff
things can
answer,
actually
but
do?
I already checked. It could go toward the Pepperplex. It also could go toward our sewer plant and towards the infrastructure of our sewer plant.
I just would like to know the
I
definition.
think all citizens got.
There is one, I don't have it.
Okay.
I don't have it tonight.
Just maybe for next time.
Yeah.
If you don't mind.
Sure, no. It has to be a benefit to everyone,
Yeah.
and it only can be spent in the district. I've watched the parish be creative with theirs, so I think this is, it's where we headed. Anything further?
That's a wrap.
Okay, I don't know who put their hand up next. You want me to go around? Everybody's probably gonna.
Oh, thanks.
What's that? You were next?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
Well,
Who's
the
next?
reason why, because I was part
Okay,
here,
these?
and Mayor, you were here,
He was.
when that was implemented.
Mhm.
And not implemented.
When it was
Yeah.
when it was passed.
And it was
when
passed,
It was established.
I was not here.
When it was
I don't
established.
know if I was here or not.
It was 2009.
I don't know.
I was in your chair.
Yeah, I think I was in that chair. But anyway, at that time, they did have the people they went and talked to approve for them to be part of it.
Mhm.
And after it was voted on and the lines drew a few times and we voted on it, it was never implemented because of politics. Let's just be honest. I tried to implement it. But one thing it does do is that not only getting the money, we can bond money and pay it back with this money. Is that correct?
Yes.
And we have, it's talking about Mr. Broussard's sidewalks. Maybe that could be part of it. We can partnership with the parish with their money because they got a lot of land that's in that area that we can partnership in. But it's all about infrastructure. People don't want you to come here and say, look, give us 3 years and we can hook you up. They want to come in. And look, I don't like taxes, but this is a tax that can bring in money. And I believe that the way this area is growing up, I wish it had been implemented a few years ago, but we can't just say, hey, I wish. We just need to do it. I really believe that. And I think the improvements that we can do, if it's not the Pepperplex, but it's for the land that's there, the infrastructure, and we lucky that our sewer plant's there. I mean, in the parish, they got, 2 cents in that TIF? 2%?
I think it's 1 cent. I thought it was 1. We'd be half, but I think they were 1.
But they are a lot farther out than we
Well,
are to bring in services.
It's true.
And I just think it's a win-win, and we might not see it in this council quick enough, but I think the next council could see the benefits, and I just think it's a win-win for the community, and I can't wait to even start on the other end of town. We're talking about your
That's
district.
coming next.
Is that, whatever we can do to make that size, but it takes money. We don't have the money in our coffers to do it, so we have to create other ways, and it's working for the parish. And I just think we need to act on it, and I'm in favor of it, Mayor.
Great.
Thank you.
Before I call anybody else, Dan brought one point up, partnership with the parish. When I was the pro tem, the parish came into the city with their TIF district. We started our TIF district, and they overlapped. I got to go to a meeting and settle that issue, which was kind of weird. It was a suit. They were suing. So I shot my mouth off. Oh, I could probably settle that. So they said, oh, you think so? Go to a meeting and settle it. So I'm in with Ernest Freyu and their attorney, and we met in a room, and we came up with a compromise. So we will put aside of the money we collect 15%. 15% will go into an account, and the parish, they haven't done it yet because we couldn't match it. We weren't collecting. They will put 15%. They will match what we put in that 15% that we put aside to do a joint project. So from the day we start collecting this, we are in partnership with the parish on 15% of it. So I just wanted to let you know that, and for next time I'll bring you a copy of that agreement as well, because I think it's neat. I think it helps, and it shows, another partnership, another way that we're working together. So I wanted to make that point. I'll go back around. Mr. Broussard.
Such a tax can only be used in this TIF district.
Correct?
Major point. I'm for the new tax, to expand new roads in the TIF district. That's what we're going to be using it for. Can you imagine a road from the Pepperplex, a second road, coming all the way out and going back of Lowe's and tying in all that property in back of Pepperplex, and a good access to relieve pressure from people using that place and expanding it even bigger? So yes, I'm kind of for this. But I want to hear from the constituents. You have a couple of meetings coming up. If anybody disagree with what we're talking about, come talk about it. I'm voted in by my constituents. It is in District 3. More businesses will create more taxes. We'll gain our money back on such a road in the back. Let businesses come in. Could be a little off field, could be something. Build up along that road we built back then, and our sidewalks along 14. But again, I emphasize, I'm voted in by the citizens. The next couple of meetings, if you have any beef about what we're talking about, please come change our mind. Please come in here. But I think it could be a useful tax. And it's hard to say that. I never say I was backing a tax before. But, I feel that way, and it's in my district. We need to build New Iberia up and grow it. And what other way than we can use some of this money to work in our own TIF district?
Thank you, Mr. Broussard. Who's next? Councilman Guidry.
I just wanted to find out, number one, this is separate from the hotel tax that we already collected,
We're going to talk about that
correct?
possibility after this.
Sir?
Yes, ma'am. We're going to talk about that possibility on item 3.
Okay. And next, when I was in business school, we had a little quote we used to talk about when it comes down to stuff like this. And but I want everybody to know that I'm for this. I support the mayor. I think most of us on this particular council ran on the platform that we want economic development and infrastructure and to build our new Iberia. So I just want everybody to know on this council that I'm for this, and I will be voting for this unless I get other calls from my constituents. But other than that, I think we need to grow New Iberia. But also, too, I want everybody to also remember on this council that the TIF districts, I don't know if you all are familiar with urban gentrification and all those terminologies and the history of the TIF districts, but really, too, it was also created also, too, for a multifaceted type thing, for improvements to cities and physical environments and the economic basis, and also social and economic conditions of their residents. And I say that because, simply what I'm trying to say, I guess, is that the West End area and other underserved communities and stuff, we need something like that on that side too, because it was originally created for people to remain in the community, and also originally designed to assist minority communities as well, and incentivizing, like the mayor said, with sewer, roads, infrastructures, and those communities as well. So, we don't want to just put developers, it's a great start, but I just don't want us to forget as a council about those underserved communities. And I'm all for this TIF district in Highway 14 economic development.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Couple of comments. I
Okay.
actually operate a business inside of the TIF district in the Iberia parish. And as much as everybody and myself hate to pay taxes,
Hmm?
but you can see the improvements
That's right.
that are done, like you said, at the air base. Day in and day out, they're done, and you see where your money's going. You see where the consumer's money's going, where the business money's going. But I also want to just reiterate that the money, like Mr. Broussard said, the money that is generated within that district can only be spent in that district.
Correct.
So that's just another, I know that, but I want the people to understand that as well. So that's all I have to say.
Okay. This Councilman Lewis.
We good. This TIF is going to be added to the already established sales tax.
Yes.
So another half.
In that district.
Oh, in that district.
Only in that district.
That's where
Only in the
the
TIF. It can only be
confusion.
spent in the TIF district. It can only be collected in the TIF district.
Okay, so
Not every business.
I guess the question is, how many businesses are in the TIF district already?
Probably 12, 15. I mean, we have a map.
Okay,
You
so
know.
so those when you
Those
when
are
you
the
go
ones who are
to
affected.
when you go there to buy goods in that district, a half cents will be added
Yes.
to what you're spending
Yes.
already in taxes to be used
Only in that district for improvements.
For improvements.
Infrastructure improvements.
redevelopment per se.
Yeah, basically it will
Basi-
foster new development, or it might foster some redevelopment, but yes.
Right. So in other words, the whole town won't be taxed a half a cent.
Correct. Only the businesses that are inside this district.
Only the businesses, and not so much the businesses, but the patrons who go and shop,
Right.
go buy goods
Correct.
and services in that district.
Correct. I mean, you
Okay.
can't tip residential. So like you can't do this in a residential area because
Right.
there's nothing to generate any money.
Okay, all right. Got it. Okay, because I'm thinking about Hopkins Street. She alluded to Hopkins Street Economic Development District.
Mhm.
And I guess what I was trying to do to
But
see
you have
if,
to have, you can do that, and I mean, there's nothing to stop us in the future to do other TIF districts. Let's get this started, and if it works and it's working well, there's nothing to stop us to do that. But you do have to look for businesses that generate, you look at the millions of dollars
Right.
that are collected in this highly commercial area, and we'll probably get $350,000 a year. It's not a huge generator if you don't have a cluster of, businesses.
I understand,
You know.
because there is a Hopkins Street Economic Development.
Yes. Yes.
But it has the power to tax, but
It
it
could
isn't
have the power to tax.
taxing yet.
Yes, correct.
Just, I'm trying to see how the two line up and
Right. They're both economic tools. They're different, but they're
Okay.
both economic tools to foster development. Both of them have been set up, to be able to do something to generate new development or revitalization. They're just they're different animals. Yes, sir.
Yeah, the Hopkins Street Economic Development District has its own board and its own territory and its own power to tax. So it's really separate.
Yep.
It's kind of parallel. It could do this kind of thing, but this body does not control what that body does.
that's kind of where that's a good answer,
Yeah.
because that's where I was getting at. For the people that's getting involved with Hopkins Street Economic Development, as well as the people who are not involved, I want them to understand that the two can exist.
Yes, definitely.
The two can
Definitely.
exist.
I have one role on the Hopkins Street one to put an appointee of my own, and then to ask, really, it's the two of y'all, because y'all are the council people from those districts, if you want to serve on it. And then after that, I'm out of it. Whenever that gets reestablished, we're working on that, we're working through that. But basically, the two of y'all are going to have an opportunity to serve on that or designate someone to, and I have an appointee on it. And other than that, it's a separate entity that runs itself.
Does the TIF and the TIF doesn't? We are the board for the TIF district.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
or TIF districts.
Yes.
Okay.
Any further discussion?
Mayor,
Yes.
and you mentioned it, but maybe we can clarify.
Sure.
This is a sales tax
on the businesses. If you have a house in that district, they don't see this, but it won't affect them.
No,
It's
not
not
at
a
all.
property tax,
It's
and some
n-
people get confused about taxes.
It's not a property tax, and it's not for any residential, it's only businesses
Thank you.
inside that district. Yes, ma'am.
And so the next meeting, I think it's our lawyer, Mr. Jeff, he's gonna have a breakdown on like what Natalie said about, how the money could be spent, and then you talked about the 15% matching such and such. Are you already gonna have an intergovernment agreement? When
That's
you
been
bring
done
that
years ago as a settlement to the lawsuit. It's
15%
nothing,
and 15%?
it's nothing for us to do. I just need to bring it to show you. I know that.
Okay,
I know
yes,
that.
sir. Yes, sir. And also too, so the whole breakdown of it, it'll show. And what about the list of incentives or the list, or the actual, all the businesses that's included in this particular TIF district?
I can bring you a list. I mean, the incentives are simple, it's infrastructure, but I mean, if you want a list of the businesses in there, we'll put that, and we can do that too. I mean, we have a map, but,
I see it.
yeah. Well, so it won't be too bad. We'll just list it on the map, it's fine. We can do that.
That's it, sir.
Okay. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll ask you to please vote your machines. Thank you all. All right, now we're going to move on to item 3, Madam Clerk.
Introduction of an ordinance and set for public hearing on October 2nd, 2018. Introduction of an ordinance authorizing the levy of a sales tax and hotel occupancy tax within the City of New Iberia, Highway 14 Economic Development District Number 1, directing that such tax in the district will be used to provide funds for economic development projects in accordance with and as authorized by Part 2, Chapter 27, Title 33 of the Louisiana Revised Statutes of 1950 as amended, and providing for other matters in connection with the foregoing.
Okay, before we have a discussion, I got a little statement. This, of course, is separate from the TIF. This is something that Jason Akers and I reviewed that we could ask to do. I'll tell you that I have a phone call today that I'm not going to put everybody's business on the street, but some other groups were looking at possibly, unbeknownst to me, we're looking at possibly adding on to this hotel motel tax for some other uses. All right? So, and it's another government agency. So I got a little conflict, looking to try to foster growth in our community. Jason said, it's fair game. You can do this. It's not a hard process. You can take, I know that the money is well spent for the various uses that it's involved that are involved in it now. So I get a couple of phone calls today, and they're like, "What you trying to do there, boy?" We were going to try to do that. So I called Jason Akers and said, "All right, if we pass this and move this forward tonight, can I amend it?" Okay, and he said, "Yeah, you can do whatever you want. Okay, you can amend it. You could reduce it. This is another one that we were asking for a 0.5 cent. It could go away. It could be reduced. You could drop the idea. Whatever you want to do." Okay. So what I'm going to do is have some meetings, because I'm pretty good at having meetings, next week with the entities that we're trying to do this to find out what's going on. We do not want to be a roadblock. We have come way too far of partnering with a whole lot of other agencies to start playing some power trip now. So, not knowing that, thinking that, hey, this could be good, we're going to end up with a comparison to make sure that we're not overly charging our guests versus other hotels, because if we add on a little bit, that's one thing. If somebody else adds on a little bit more, we could well get to where we would not be as competitive. Do I think they're going to drive back to Lafayette? I really don't. But it's still something you have to have that comparison. So we're going to be talking about that. The other agency, is a very vital agency and does a lot of good stuff for us, and it's someone we partner with already, so I don't need to be biting people that are our friends. So what I would like to do is just have a little discussion. If we pass it forward, I will let you know that by the time it comes back at the next meeting, I will have a story to tell you, and we will adjust from there. But I just wanted full disclosure of, I got a bunch of phone calls. So that's what I have.
Can I ask you something about
So,
that?
well, why don't we do a motion and a second, if y'all still want to, and then we can have more of a discussion.
Motion second, we don't even have to vote on it.
No, but it's an introduction.
I'll make a
I guess we
motion.
don't have to.
I'll make a motion.
Do we have to on an introduction?
Is it discussion or introduction?
I thought we still did a motion in a second.
Well, we can talk about it and not vote on it.
Yeah. You can.
Yeah, you need a motion,
Yeah.
second, and a vote for an
Yeah.
introduction.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's what I thought.
Yeah, but we don't have to vote on it after.
Not if there's no motion.
Not unless there's a motion to vote on.
You can take it back.
Should be a motion to defer.
You can do whatever you want. Or
I know.
you can pass it, and Jason said you can adjust it out.
Yeah. I'll make the motion.
Okay, so
I'll get in the hot fire
I got
with
a
you.
motion to discuss, okay? So do I have a second?
Second to
Okay, great.
discuss.
I got a motion and a second. All right, now let's go around the table. Anybody want to discuss
Yeah, I
anything?
want to discuss something.
Yeah, great, good. We need discussion.
No, Mayor, let's explain the difference.
Yes.
Because if you go to these hotels and you cater function, you will get taxed at half cents, right?
Yes.
When you go buy something, you go buy some drinks at a hotel, you get charged as half cents in this TIF district.
Mhm.
But if you go sleep there, you won't get charged that half cents because it's not a sales tax.
I think
So
you
now
still
you want to
do.
put another half cents on top of that.
If we did that, yeah, because
Okay.
you'd be charged for both of
I
them.
just want. that's
It
all I
would
need
be
to know.
1 cent more. No, it would.
Understand.
It would be 1 cent more. Yeah, you are charged for that.
Okay. Go ahead. I'm through.
Well, that was quick. Councilman Guidry.
We're talking about a half cents on a dollar and then another half cents on a dollar. And
Yes.
these two particular sales tax are collected separately, correct? Or can we combine them?
No, it's two separate things. One
Two
is a
separate
TIF and one is
things,
hotel
hotel tax
motel.
and
This
one-
is a whole different animal.
Okay.
Another question.
That's fine.
The
Yeah.
hotel motel tax you can use for anything, and it
No,
don't have
you
to stay in
can't.
that district.
No, you can't. It has to
It
stay.
doesn't stay in the
okay,
district.
wait. There are, for the most part, it does have to stay in the district. There are some exceptions because Jason said, I called him today and asked him. I said, "Can I use that for anything?" He said, "Nope." He said, "There are some exceptions and some statutes that let you do some other things with it, but you're not free to do anything you want with it."
Where's those statutes?
Well, Jason will be here at the next meeting.
Okay, sir.
We need that.
Yes, yeah. Oh, we
We
do,
don't
we
need
do,
that.
we do. Any further discussion on this?
Okay.
I just.
Drop my vote.
Oh, you do whatever you want.
You're really good at selling things, Mayor, so, I mean, you could kind of tell us how this would really help, maybe you want to talk a little bit more about it?
Oh, the money would be great because it's more money to
Same
spend.
$350,000?
No, because that's not all the businesses.
Okay,
That's not all the businesses.
okay.
Would the money be good for us? Yeah, it would. Do I have
What's the
a?
projected amount that you're looking at those particular hotels, however many we have?
I'm gonna have that for the next meeting because the numbers that I had was a combined of all of the taxes.
Oh.
So at the next meeting, I'll be bringing that as well to tell you what we're talking about. It is not nearly the $350,000 because you have other big retailers in that,
Right, just the hotels.
in the tip. It's only the hotels.
Correct.
Would the money help us? Yeah, sure. We're on the money hunt just like y'all all know our budget. We're on the money hunt just like everybody else. With the discussions that I had on the telephone today, it was pretty interesting because we were comparing notes. We were both trying to use it for the same type of things. So it's kind of like, we have been very successful with grants, as y'all all know, and we will continue to be successful with grants. We got a great grant writer sitting in the back. We have a good team of local people who contribute, and I try to hold my own, okay? So with that, we're constantly struggling for matches. That is constantly a problem. If you relieve the pressure in somewhere, I can use some money from someplace else to continue the grant flow. Well, like I said, people I was talking to today, that's one of their problems. They have money from the state, but they can't come up with their matches. So we're all kind of fighting for the same dollars to do the same good. It was something that was suggested, and I thought, hey, let's try to do something. Now that I realize that other people are trying to do the same thing, it does change my view of it.
So what would we use the money for? Matches, you saying, or we have to
we can
or
use it in
has
the
to go-
district. We can use it in the
that
TIF district.
only?
Well, there were some other things we could do with it. I'll bring you the list at the next meeting.
Okay.
But it was not open-ended. When I first proposed this or talked about this, I'll be honest with you, I thought it was open-ended. So I was like, man, there's my match for anything in the world. Well, that's what I was thinking. That's not totally the case according to Jason Akers today. So that has changed my perspective too. But in the district, if you combine this with TIF money, you got more horsepower. Because you see, our problem is our district is so small. We're not generating, the parish's TIF district, I know I compare to them, but they run all of Highway 90. They've got the port, the airport, they've got big business. They've got an economic engine. We have some great businesses, I love every one of them, but it's not this mass of businesses that brings in this huge amount of money for us. So yes, you can bond some of the money. Yeah, you can do some things, but for us to really make the biggest impact, I was hoping I had more than $350,000 a year, and this was a way to achieve that. Now, I don't want to achieve that at the sacrifice of other agencies, especially for the fact that we work with them. So, this might be a road we don't go down. I'm fine with that. We're having that's why we discuss everything we do. Yes, sir, Mr. B.
It's in my district.
It is.
We're all talking about taxes. We all got elected by the people. People, you have 3 meetings. Come. We don't know it all. You might twist our arm the other way. But so far, we told y'all how we feel to promote New Iberia. And it's in that area, but it's in my district. And call each and every one of our city councilmen here. Call, give them your word on what's going on. It's a very important thing about taxes. Yes, I'd like to see the district grow, but it won't grow unless we do something. But please contact us. We're not the last word on all this. You twist my arm enough, I'll go the other direction.
So how long does this tax stay in place? Well, if, let's say it just happens to pass, how long does this stay in place?
The TIF tax is 10 years, I think.
10 or 20, yeah.
I figured it was a
They have a
term
term.
limit.
It has a term.
Yeah, it does.
And then the motel tax.
I don't think it has a term. It doesn't have a cap and it doesn't have a term.
No term.
Nope. It has a cap? All right, because Jason, all right.
Well, I don't know, talking TIF on,
Yeah.
Yeah, because Jason told me it didn't, but that's fine. And he'll be here at our next meeting. Okay.
So
Jeff.
term limit and no cap.
Well, we'll have more.
Oh, cap and no term limit.
Right.
Which is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Jeff, since we made a motion and a second to discuss it,
Right.
can we just take that back since we don't have all the information? Or
You
did we
can-
need that to discuss it, right? We couldn't have
Well,
just.
we needed a
discussed it.
motion to discuss. We
Right.
we can take no action.
Yeah.
You can do whatever you want. You can table it, you can
Okay.
defer it, you can kill it.
No, we-
You got the right to do whatever you want.
Well, we just want to bring some more information to it.
That's fine,
Okay.
that's fine.
Before you take any action.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's what we need to do.
So who did the second?
I did the second,
Yeah.
Did
sir.
she withdraw her second?
She could. And we just take no action on it. It's not dead, it's not tabled, it's not deferred, it's nothing.
So if we don't table, can we table it and come back and that?
You got a whole
No.
nother set of
That's a
rules
whole
to
nother
table.
set of
Oh,
rules.
okay,
Table
okay.
is more difficult.
But
We
we,
defer it into where,
and he can bring more information next week.
bring more
I plan on
information and then.
it. Well,
we
Jason
make a
was gonna
vote.
be here and the
Yeah.
storm just kinda, he wasn't sure which way it was gonna go, so he asked if he could not come tonight, and I said, well, can I undo anything we do, or I knew we had to have this discussion.
Yes,
The
sir.
TIF one, rock solid, in the way I look at it. This second one, I said, we gotta talk. So knowing that, and I made sure that we could all as a group change it, I said, well, then let's just keep it on the agenda, even though Jason's not gonna
See
be
what the
here.
legal said.
I think if you have a first and, if you have a motion and a second, then you need a vote. If you have a motion and the second's withdrawn,
Don't have to
unless
vote.
there's another second, there's no action taken.
Okay,
So maybe withdrawing the second would be the way to
okay.
defer.
I can't withdraw mine unless you
I
withdraw
know.
yours.
Maxine just came up with a point that we'll lose our public hearing day, which pushes back a little further. I don't know if it matters. Doesn't really matter. I mean, but good
Hey,
point,
You wanna
good point.
have a public hearing, you
Yeah.
definitely do.
Yeah.
Well, we don't have to do it the same time as the TIF one.
No.
Okay. People still have their hand up, so I guess I'll let
Right.
them talk and then we'll decide if we yanking it. Councilman Three.
Thank you. So, she pulls her second, if she
Yeah.
pulls her second, it's killed.
It's,
That's,
no action is taken.
No action
tonight.
taken.
no action's taken tonight.
Yes, it's in limbo.
Alright, I mean, I don't know how y'all feel, but I do agree, it'd be nice to have Jason up here,
Mhm.
have some more information on
And I
your
want to
end.
talk to the other
But
agencies
if,
that,
we,
you know,
if she pulls her motion, her second, then
we start over again.
we have to start all over
That's no
again.
big
We do.
deal.
Go through a whole nother,
Right.
But
so what,
So
that's what I'm concerned
Yeah.
about,
my
Yeah.
comment is,
delaying it.
if we move it forward, then we can get the information at the next meeting. And you know, it's
and-
just moving up.
And kill it then if we don't like it.
If you don't
or
like it.
Right,
If we,
isn't Jason already coming to the next one?
Jason's
We
coming
don't
to the
wanna
next
make
one.
him
Unless we
come
get
later.
another
Pay for him to
hurricane,
come,
Jason's
right.
coming.
So
So,
we can put it on the next agenda.
to me, if we moved it, if you moved it forward to the next agenda, Councilwoman Lebez is exactly right, and that's what Jason and I talked about. Then we could, I'll come back and tell you, I might come back and tell you, look, I think we should pull the whole thing because we're conflicting with some other agencies. Or I go meet the other agencies and they have an idea of some way we both can benefit. You know, to me, it leaves it a little bit of flexibility if we just say we're gonna bring it to the next meeting. And at the next meeting, if we don't like it, vote it down, you know, just pull it. Table it then, and then it'll never come back. Bury it. But at least we give ourselves the opportunity to have that discussion,
With Jason.
you know, with Jason. And I'll have more information from the agencies on me.
Yeah, bring some more.
I will. So I'm fine with either way, you know. This is,
So to get it for the next meeting and we don't kill it all together, what do we have to do?
you would vote, we would motion a second, and we'd vote yes to send it to the next meeting. That's all we voting to do, though.
But
We're
that's
not-
what we wanna do,
Yeah,
right?
we're not, it's not a shell game. We all know what we're doing, and we're just voting to say, go to the next meeting with it.
Right, and then it'll be on the next agenda.
Yes, and we'll have another discussion, and I'll give you a
And the public hearing
report.
is still in place.
October 2nd.
Okay.
And I'll give you a report on what I find out from our other agencies, and we'll have Jason here to fill in all the blanks.
Go. So you make sure we vote yes, we're just.
Yeah, what?
Okay,
I'm not, no, I mean, I
I
got the
wanna make
city
sure I'm not
attorney
voting
and the
yes for the
clerk.
whole thing yet. I just
You're
want,
not.
I made the motion so we could talk about it.
Oh, yeah.
I made the motion
Okay.
so we could discuss it.
Jeff, am I
That's all I
correct
did.
on that analysis?
Correct.
It's just an
Okay.
introduction.
It's just an introduction, so you
And
don't,
to set it for
Oh,
him.
I'm not backing out. Oh,
yeah, so whatever y'all want to
No,
do.
I'm just.
Now, Councilman Lewis has his hand up while you decide what you want to do. Councilman Lewis.
My question isn't about what we're gonna do, but about something that was said, the TIF tax, if it's passed for the TIF district, we said it has a term, right? And, okay, correct me if I'm wrong, it said, beginning January 1st, 2019, and continuing in perpetuity, a sales tax of 1/2 of 1%.
It's in perpetuity.
Perpetuity means forever.
Then it doesn't have a term. I thought it
But
had
you
a term.
can put one.
You could put a term if you want to.
we can amend it. We can
I'm-
amend that, can't we?
Mayor,
Yes.
can I say that? Jeff, what I remember way back when we talked about this, I don't know if you were even here. But,
No,
Are you
Jeff?
Must have been during my vacation.
yeah, I had vacation too. It gets
Yeah, he had a
confusing, yeah.
12-year vacation, so I don't think he was here.
Is that sometimes if you put a bond on this TIF money, you could put the TIF to last as long as the bond was paid off. Because it was a discussion about, say we get this TIF money and we do all the infrastructure we can, and we have no more infrastructure, you can't just keep collecting the money, correct? I mean, after we do everything in this district,
You can give it to the pepper box.
well, I'm just saying, one day, if you have no more projects,
Friday.
you can't just keep collecting that money.
No, you can only collect the money to spend it for the allowed uses.
Right.
Which is new
Yeah.
development.
Infrastructure.
But
Well, I
what's
mean,
this-
okay, the sewer
What about
plant's,
improvement?
the sewer plant's in the district. If you can legally spend it on the sewer plant and
But-
on the upgrading the sewer plant, you'll never run out.
You never run out.
Not the way that thing breaks.
Yeah, but that's not fair.
Do you
Everybody
ever,
uses
do you
the
ever
sewer
run
plant.
out of stuff that you need to do?
Right, like, yeah.
So we'll never have to go up on sewer user fees again?
There's actually in that 15% that we set aside, one of the projects, because they actually listed projects, one of the projects is to build a new fire station.
Mayor,
That fire station would be in that TIF district.
I'm gonna call for a point of order, cause we off the track
Yes, you
right
will.
now.
Thank you. We are.
We're supposed to be voting this, to move
Well-
this
I got one more
forward,
question.
not about the tip.
We didn't close the discussion, but you're right, we're on the
We're not-
TIF.
yeah, we
Yeah, we're supposed to
off
be
the
on the
TIF.
hotel motel. You're right about that.
Okay.
You're right about
Let's
that.
vote. Let's go.
Everybody's okay to vote?
I believe in
So
Jeff.
what we
If Jeff
voting
says
for
we,
then?
huh?
We are voting right now to bring the hotel motel, because Councilwoman Deidre got us all back on track, because she's right. We had started talking about the TIF.
We need to
So we are voting right now to say that at the next meeting, we're gonna have further discussion. This lives till the next meeting, and we're gonna have further discussion on it. Get Jason Akers over here, fill in all the blanks, and decide what we're doing, and I'll have some information as well.
A lot of information.
I am hoping.
Oh, no. Oh, you might yank it.
Yeah, or I might yank it. You never know. So, everybody's clear? Please vote your machines.
Get some calls tomorrow.
Thank you all very much. Now we have a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Can I make one announcement?
Okay, you can. Go ahead.
I'm sorry, y'all, but we
It's
kept
all right.
talking about.
It's all right.
Sorry, working together and this, that, and that, and it just dawned on me that our former parish president and former state senator and executive director of our Port of Iberia underwent a tragic loss.
Yeah.
And that just hurts my heart. Yeah. I just would like our community to pray for Craig Romero's family.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. Okay, you got a second. We're going. Thank you all very much.